thinking or the collective feeling about a topic is so rich to me. How can I describe by myself, Sophie, what metamorphosis may be, what daring to metamorphose someone may be? The best thing to illustrate is having collective voices, independent, individual, coming to a collective book. And to me, this is where the power of stepping into a message, sharing with the world can be.
Today, we dive into Daring Metamorphosis, inspiring journeys of growth, synchronicity, and courage, a powerful anthology featuring 20 voices exploring transformation and resilience. Joining me here today are three incredible guests who, among others, brought this book to life. Sophie Romyas, the visionary publisher and curator of the anthology, my fellow authors Achim Nowak, an internationally renowned author, executive coach, and TEDx speaker, and Richard Penn, a trailblazing entrepreneur and advocate for innovation and mentorship. Together, we'll explore the inspirations behind Daring Metamorphosis, their personal journeys, and the themes of courage and connection that unite these stories. Welcome, Sophie, Achim, and Richard. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Hello, Brigitte.
Bridget, thank you.
I'm absolutely thrilled and deeply honored to have all of you here today from different corners of the world as we celebrate the launch of Daring Metamorphosis. This extraordinary book represents synchronicity, boldness, and the journey from ordinary to extraordinary, captured in 20 powerful and inspiring stories. I'm so delighted to have you, Achim and Richard, two of our remarkable authors here with us, as well as our visionary publisher, Sophie, whose dedication brought this book to life. Let's start with you, Sophie. Sophie, you are a practitioner of holistic therapies and the founder of Angel Lab Editions. You're passionate about the transformative power of words. You curate anthologies that explore themes like resilience, solidarity, and legacy. And thereby you are providing a platform for inspiring and meaningful stories. So what inspired you to curate this extraordinary collection and bring these diverse voices together? Was there a specific moment or vision that sparked the idea?
Well, thanks for the question. It started during the lockdown of the COVID, and I saw so many people questioning the meaning of their life purpose, maybe the job, maybe sometimes their relationship, or the place where they used to live, and whatever. And I started to feel, there is a movement. So this is probably the positive side of the lockdown. We are turning inward inside of us to feel how we feel. And this is where the idea of a book started to pop up. And to me, I believe into the power of collective expression, collective intelligence, sharing.
Yeah, there is so much more momentum when you have this collective, when there's people coming together and sharing their stories, when there is this kind of synchronicity coming together. I truly believe in that power. Thank you so much, Sophie. Richard, your chapter reflects on your transformative journey in Silicon Valley during its golden age, where you witnessed the rise of tech giants like Google and Facebook, while you were navigating the challenges of the dot-com bubble burst. You explore in your chapter how this dynamic environment shaped your self-confidence, leadership vision, and entrepreneurial mindset. You state that humility is not contradictory to self-confidence. Why do you feel and why do you see that humility is complementary to self-confidence? How has this perspective shaped your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I think first maybe we need to define what I mean by humility. To me, humility is really the sense that you understand other people may know more or may be more competent or more skillful than you are. because no one can be the best in all areas. So I think humility is accepting and trying to find people who are better than yourself in other areas. And self-confidence is I think the knowledge that whatever the circumstances, you have the qualities to make the best out of the situation and make the good decisions for yourself and for others. So I think they really complement, because in a company, in a society, in a community, usually things are done collectively, like Sophie mentioned. Collective intelligence is very important. And I think as a leader, you need to organize the decision making process. You need to be self confident to understand and to be sure that your decision making process is the right one. But also, it needs to mix other people's opinions, other people's skills, to really make the best decision and do the best job together.
Yeah, I love the way of how you described humility and self-confidence and this coming together. Thank you so much. Richard, you also have worked in diverse countries and cultures. You're truly a global person. And I really want you to share what key lessons about leadership you have learned living in all these diverse countries and cultures, and how these insights, these learnings, maybe sometimes hard learnings, have influenced the way you lead and inspire others.
Yeah, so you mentioned several cultures, and I usually say that I'm a perfect mix of three different cultures. I was born from Vietnamese parents, so the family culture is very Asian, very inspired by Confucius, so very Vietnamese, where education and family and ancestors are extremely important. My second culture is my education, because I was born and I grew up in Paris, in the middle of France. So my academic culture is really French and Western Europe. And what is important there is really your diploma, your academic. And then I went to live and work in the US, in Silicon Valley, and my business culture is really American Silicon Valley. So I am able to mix the three cultures together in my personal life. And in business, leadership to me is very important. And I discovered leadership really in the US, because I think in Asia, you learn to be a very good student. That means you obey to the teacher who has authority. The teacher has more authority than your parents when you're at school, about the Asian culture. And in the US, it's very different. It's very different because at school, the teachers ask the students, especially in high school, to actually lead initiatives. For example, yearbooks. Yearbooks are an initiative for students, from students, where in France it would be impossible. There is no yearbook in France in high school. And so leadership is something that is not taught in Asia, is not taught in France in the young age, in the teenager age, but is later discovered by adults, where your state of mind is already set, where your culture is already set. And so leadership to me is the capability to actually lead others, meaning be convinced of your objective, convinced of the strategy, and be able to convince others by persuasion. And I think that's a very complex set of skill set that is taught really by experience and can never be taught by just reading. Or so this is what I try to apply to my business style: convince others, understand, give the example, and really be at the front of the battle.
Yeah. And your experience is something that you're also passing on. You're supporting entrepreneurs. You're acting kind as a mentor. So, what are the values that drive your commitment to mentoring others. How do you integrate these values, the value set that you have chosen for yourself in order to make bold decisions? How do you integrate them into your own work and your leadership?
I think you said the word values, which is really the right word in that case, because deeply rooted in my thinking is the belief, the very strong belief that everything is an ecosystem or an ecosystem. And as Sophie said, with collective intelligence, we are much stronger when we achieve to do something together. And you can only do something together when you partner with good faith on a certain topic. And I think this means that you need to give to others, you need to transfer to others, maybe even before you get something back from others. There was a concept when I was in Silicon Valley that started being named to give forward, which was the opposite of giving back. The idea of giving back is if somebody offered you a gift, then you give back something. Well, giving forward is the opposite. First of all, you give to others as a generosity, but also thinking that one way or another, the universe, somebody else, or maybe the same person, will give you something back to help you when you need it. And it's what I used as my number one value in life and in business. Typically, when you have children, you don't wait for them to give you something before you give back, right? You give to your children first anything you can, everything you can, and then later in life you get their love back after maybe troublesome teenage years. But in any case, you give first and you receive later. And I think we should all apply this to everyday life and also to business. And I really my businesses by giving first, and good customers, good partners always give back even more than what they have received.
I truly believe that. And it's also an essential quality thriving nowadays to live that spirit. And since you've also witnessed the interplay of innovation and adaptability, but also resilience firsthand, what are some other essential qualities for thriving in today's very rapidly evolving and changing business landscape?
I think the one quality is to always question your logic when you make a decision. I think it's very striking right now when you meet a retired person, maybe 75, 80 years old, who still thinks like he used to when he was 25. And as you said, in today's rapidly evolving world, you cannot think today as you did 60 years ago. 6 years ago was the end of World War II. It was reconstruction of the Western world. Now it's totally different, and maybe the priorities are different. Climate change has appeared, AI has appeared, and the human nature maybe at the basis is the same, but all the tools, all the social networks, all the good sides and bad sides of that has appeared. So you cannot think as you did 60 years ago. So I think the key is every 5 or 10 years to question how you think about the world, how you think about other people, how you think about what other people think and why. Re-question that and basically update your own operating system by changing how you think about the world every 5 or 10 years. It's very difficult, but I believe that it's really important in today's world where people who have the power of finance, of decision making, basically are 50 or 60 years old. But the people who make today's world are 20 or 30 years old. And we need to try to think as the 20, 30 years old think and think about what they want because it's totally different from what we wanted or what we thought 30 years ago.
Mm, absolutely. So, thank you so much for sharing parts of your story. And I'm excited for others to dig deeper into everything related to leadership and also reflecting a little bit on their own leadership.
Thank you, Bridget, for the time and the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, I would like to continue with Achim. Achim, you also wrote a beautiful chapter about your journey. You delve into pivotal moments of personal transformation and the courage it takes to embrace change. You reflect on the clarity that comes with knowing what truly matters and acting on it, highlighting themes like intuition, curiosity, and the freedom found in letting go. And in your chapter, you describe the significance of the number 7. You are calling it the beautiful number. Now we are intrigued. Can you share why this number resonates with you so deeply and how it's influenced your life and your decisions?
Well, sometimes we meet people who say something to us that profoundly changes how we think about life. I really appreciate what Richard was saying about paying attention to other people and listening to them and from them. 25 years I was sitting in a bar in Manhattan and I was having a conversation with a woman who I just met that day. And she was the head of human resources of a big Wall Street money firm. And we were making small talk. And she said to me, I feel a big change coming on in my life. She said, I left Paris 7 years ago to move to Manhattan. And I believe in every 7 years changing my life radically. And the reason that really spoke to me that day is it was the first week on a new job. And I was questioning whether or not this was the right job. And I was thinking, what am I doing with my life? Full question. I don't have to figure out what I'm doing for the rest of my life. I'm allowed to change my life again at any point. So the number 7, it doesn't have to be literal. I don't change my life every 7 years, but I've taken a lot of bold actions. But her comment gave me the freedom to make big changes rather than having the idea that there's anything I'm doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think we all have this number. Yeah, there is that sits with us and that pops up here and there regularly. That's something that is a really interesting phenomenon. I love that. And you mentioned you have made bold decisions and you boldly pivoted throughout your life. And you were guided by the belief when you know. So how does the clarity come and also cultivating that trust, believing that is this inner knowing now this is the right thing, I need to make the next step, the next move forward. So what kind of advice would you give others hesitating? Is it this, should I go? Should I change? Should I make the next step? So, how can we listen, or how do we know? How can we trust our instinct?
Well, what we just talked about listening to external voices, which I very much believe in, but equally
Mhm.
important, I think for me has been learning to hear my inner voices and, as you said, to trust them. And
Mhm.
it's okay to do a reality check, but one moment I remember again very vividly. I was living in the West Village of Manhattan, which is a very sexy, beautiful place. And a lot of people want to live there. And I remember going for a walk in the morning through my beautiful neighborhood. It's beautiful here. And I asked myself the question very literally, what do you love about living here? And the answer that came, well, it's quiet here and you're close to the water. I was living 2 blocks from the Hudson River. And then my light bulb went off because if that's what my heart desires, I can get that much better somewhere else than in Manhattan, which is noisy and expensive. So that liberated me to, a year later, move to Florida. But clearly, but as you said, we don't trust those moments. And then we immediately talk ourselves out of the message that we heard rather than talking
Mhm.
ourselves into the message we received. So I would say is if a message is strong and it resonates with your body and soul and spirit, trust that it's showing up for a reason. and trust that the path around how to follow up will be revealed.
I think that also refers to something else that you wrote in your book. You say, if he wanted to go, he'd go. Is it that not only that people want to remain in their comfort zone, but they just want to live their fantasy and are hesitating for whatever reason? Is it that voice? Is it that not listening to that voice, or what is it that is holding them back? Do you have an answer to that?
I think the answer is very individual, but I just this year moved from Florida to
Yeah.
Portugal. Portugal
So
is
what
a
helped
again
you?
another very
Yeah.
sexy country that a lot of people want to live in. So when I shared that with the world, I got so many messages. But I remember one specifically. This was from a colleague in New York. And the message was, gosh, I've always wanted to live in Portugal. I could maybe see myself retiring there, and on and on and on. And I was talking with a good friend of mine about it who writes books about this stuff, Tom Asacker. And Tom said to me, this guy has no interest in going to Portugal. It's a 5 hour flight. He can get on a plane. He has lots of money. There's nothing holding him back and than actually taking the action. And the only thing I want to say, sometimes we talk ourselves out of the action because the steps we have to take to execute a move seem overwhelming. So we overwhelm ourselves by thinking, I have to do this and that and that and that. And I understand that. But in my life, as somebody, at some point I moved from Manhattan to Tobago. I moved later from Manhattan to Florida. I just moved to
Mhm,
Portugal.
mhm.
The moment we decide that we want to be somewhere, getting it done is not that difficult. It really isn't. We just create the story around how hard it is.
Yeah.
So I would challenge you to say, if that's the stories you continue to create in your life, and those stories hold you back, consider creating a different story.
Yeah. It's so true that the longest process is actually to get to the decision that I'm committing myself
Yes,
100% to make that
yes,
move. Yeah. To go
yeah,
the next step, right? Absolutely.
yeah.
Because at the end, we don't want to regret, right? So you mentioned also regret is a bitch, right? How has this perspective shaped the way you make choices? And there is something. Please let us know how you deal with that and why regret is a bitch for you. And what would you say to someone grappling with regret in their own life? They have these
Well,
regrets.
regret is attached to another story, which is there's something I wanted to do and I didn't have the courage to do it. And
Mhm.
and then we tend to think the moment has passed when I could do it, like it's too late. It's part of that story.
Mhm.
Now, there's a regret about it, but there are all sorts of other things we can undertake at any age. Like I'm a lap swimmer. I started swimming in my 20s. Now at 69, I am a better swimmer than I was in my 20s. I'm more committed. I swim longer lengths, but there's a commitment for me to go at a certain time to the pool where I swim to do that and reap the benefits of it. And that's just a very mundane example. Um, so again, I would connect regret to if there's something in your heart that's telling you that's part of your longing, your spirit's longing for life, unless there are physical limits at which you can. But I would say talk yourself into it. Don't talk yourself out of it.
Thank you so much. And I truly believe that your chapter is a testament for everyone to be bold and to step into the unknown and make that move instead of talking yourself out of it. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Sophie, now let's come back
Thank
to
you,
our
Brigitte.
publisher. Thank you. Sophie, I have a couple of questions for you as well. The butterfly image on the cover is beautiful. It's striking. What made you choose this symbol for the book? And what does it represent to you in the context of transformation and metamorphosis?
Hey, wow. That's a huge one. It may take a few time to answer this one because the butterfly is accompanying me for quite a while already. I think the symbol of a butterfly started to step into my life in 2012. At that time, I took a huge step into my life of personal development. And this is where I offered to myself personal education with personal development and with coaching, hypnosis, family constellations. And then I started to see butterflies everywhere on a bag of a lady, on a picture somewhere. And I felt, interesting. And so at that time, to me, I incorporated Butterfly, our book. And then he stepped into the energy of our book. And this is how he realized that this book could be represented with a butterfly. So the idea is directly from our graphist who really stepped into the energy of a book. And then he created a butterfly you can see with a lot of different details inside. It's like the layers or like a millefeuille. It's a French cake, millefeuille layers. There would be different layers about the memories and about nature. And there is even someone in the butterfly who is walking in the center of the butterfly. It's a way also of symbolizing someone who is ready to fly. So because a person is deeply rooted into this reality of the world with memories, with present and the future ahead of him, he's then walking in the center of himself and ready to fly and to step into his coming and present and past dreams.
It's always so beautiful to hear the stories behind signs, behind elements that make a book. And it's, as you just described it, it's so beautiful to hear what this butterfly represents. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
amazing how things are coming together based on your experience, also on your life, right? And not only that, but you also have a very unique ability to give voice to deeply meaningful stories like those in the book. What draws you to this form of collective storytelling? Because it's not the first one. How do you decide which voices to include in your books?
Well, thank you for the question. It doesn't come all from me. I mean, it may seem strange, but I also listen to the guidance, and we may say intuition. There may be the inner intuition and the outer intuition. And I think also everybody of you in the chapters speak about intuition, inside and outside intuition, the signs, the synchronicities. But I don't want to step into synchronicity too much, but this is also part of it. So collective intelligence, collective speech, the collective thinking or the collective feeling about a topic is so rich to me. How can I describe by myself, Sophie, what metamorphosis may be, what daring to metamorphose someone may be? The best thing to illustrate is having collective voices, independent, individual, coming to a collective book, and to me, this is where the power of stepping into a message, sharing with the world can be.
Absolutely. Now, since this is something with a very collective momentum, there's a lot of thrust in it, a lot of power in it. And with such a book, you usually couple different causes with it. So there's also the proceeds from the book coming, and they often align with a meaningful cause. Can you share what the cause is with Daring Metamorphosis? What cause are we supporting here and why?
Yeah, thanks for the question. By the way, just today, I received so the answers of everybody to give to your audience, to your community, the feeling this is a collective book. So everything is collective. The graphist was also the person who worked with me for other books, and I loved his process of stepping into the energy. For how the book could support a cause, again, it's a collective process because the book belongs to everybody and specifically to the audience he wants to serve, the purpose. So everybody from the book propose or could propose, an org, an association, a cause there to their heart and to their soul. And this is what happened. And then everybody chose one specific to receive, so the proceeds of the book. So I can announce today that it will be an association named Shambhava, which is an association supporting children education in Nepal after what happened. They had specific difficulties in the country. So yes, our book will be supporting education of children. And so how can it be better than speaking about daring metamorphosis, daring to step into actions and to personal transformation?
I'm so glad to hear that. It's so heartwarming to make this impact in this kid's life. It's beautiful. And regarding the book, I mean, you're bringing together so many interesting, inspiring narratives in your anthologies. With our book, Daring Metamorphosis, what do you think how we can impact other people's lives? What do you think this book helps? What can they take away?
Thanks again for this question. I want to add, and this is also part of the element of the answer, I want to say a huge thank you for the trust of every quarter in the book to step into this book together individually and then becoming together a big story. Individual stories becoming a big story. And this is, I really wish that people will have first pleasure to read every story as I did. I always had emotions. Sometimes would be emotions that made me cry. Some chapters made me cry, not a bad crying, but I was deeply moved. Some chapters moved me and made me laugh or made me smile. I had a lot of emotions reading everybody. And this is the first thing I'm happy in advance. I know people will feel emotions and may feel resonance inside of themselves with their life, maybe with perhaps a thinking or a feeling or maybe future dreams. And we know the book is coming out and not completely by coincidence in the end of the year. We know that sometimes it can be an energy to think about the new year or first to close this year. So what do I take myself for my own year? What do I want to create? How do I want to step into my new year? And so this book maybe will also help people to think about their life, maybe about how they want to step into the new year with a new, fresh perspective because of what they read from all of the amazing co-authors you all are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's an honor to be part of this whole book collaboration and hoping to make at least one person's life different with our stories. And I think that's something we want to achieve, right? Now, usually I'm ending this podcast episodes with a fun rapid fire session where I'm throwing out a term and you're going to share your first thought or your phrase or something that comes top of mind. And I would like to start with Sophie and then Richard and Achim and then go step by step through each of the words. It's just 5 words, but I just want to know what you feel about it and what comes up. All right? Okay. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphose. Meta, higher view, morphic field transformation, ose, dare.
Simply change.
Evolution would be mine. Evolution,
Okay.
trusting evolution, desiring evolution, embracing evolution.
Synchronicity.
Starseed for the garden of the soul.
Being aware of the world.
I would say it's always there, notice it.
Yeah. Wow. Courage.
This is when the inner child feels that the adult cover the back, get your back of the inner child.
Courage, I'd say it has to do with motivation, with the energy to reach a certain outcome or a certain goal.
I would say stability and predictability are illusions. We break the illusions through courage.
Wonderful. Resilience.
To me, resilience comes from when we find the meaning of an experience.
To me, resilience is just the beauty of life, because you want to see what's next in life, and it's always more beautiful than you think.
Try again, but also know when to not try again.
Yes, absolutely. And last but not least, the brand. What does a brand mean to you?
Oh, Bridget, for this one, I had to think this morning when I took my little walk outside, and I wrote it down because, so to me, and thanks to you, Bridget, this is part of what you help us to realize or helped me to realize. So, brand is the grace of revealing one's soul through the mental, Mantle.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sophie. Richard.
To me, the brand is really an expression of your deepest values, what is most important in your life.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Achim.
Brand means I choose to be intentional about how I show up in the world. And conversely, it means I'm intentional about how I will not show up in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, these are such thoughtful answers. I love that. And I think with each of this term, we could start a whole new discussion. And
Yeah.
just with these answers, there is so much to take away from because it goes very, very deep. Thank you so much for that. Is there
Bridget,
anything we haven't covered? Yes.
can I add something, Bridget? Would
Yes,
just
yes,
happen,
definitely.
would just happen with your little game of make us say something each of us about a word. I think this is exactly the illustration of why collective books can do something meaningful, is because we all have a different definition about the words, very simple words. There is no universal definition. There can be one, but why do we stop with one definition when we can have all this richness between all of us?
Absolutely. So true. Yeah.
It was a
So said.
wonderful time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sophie, for bringing us all together. Because of that, what you just said, for the beautiful synchronicity that made this collaboration possible, your vision, your dedication to creating such meaningful stories. Yeah, it's truly remarkable, I would say. And then Achim and Richard, thank you also for sharing your incredible journeys with such courage and authenticity. I think the authenticity is so important because otherwise others cannot relate with us. And it doesn't touch people's heart. And I also truly believe that your experiences and insights offer powerful lessons that will undoubtedly resonate with so many people out there. And I also hope that Daring Metamorphosis will inspire our readers to embark on their own journeys of growth, transformation, and also self-discovery. It's been an honor having you all on the show today, and I'm deeply grateful for this inspiring conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Brigitte.
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sophie.
If you loved the episode, don't forget to hit follow on your favorite app, share it with your network, and drop me a quick rating or review. Your support means the world to me and brings more exciting brand stories to you. Stay tuned for the next episode as we continue to explore the fascinating world of brands. Until then, keep shining.